Hey guys, we're back. This is episode 3. I can't believe we've made it this far. Chelsey, we're on the 3rd episode.
I'm amazed somebody watched. Honestly, I was just having fun making this with you, whether it was you and me watching it or me forcing my husband to watch it. Either way.
It doesn't matter. I may have paid some small children in my neighborhood to get some views. Right.
We're paying a viewership now.
Yeah. Right.
If you can't tell, Brian Dean went and got his cold brew. And thank you to our listeners for interacting with his cold brew and giving him suggestions, because I don't know anything about cold brew. I've actually had to send a coffee website to Brian to have him tell me what I should order.
So thank you. Shout out. I need to get the Twitter handle. It's the GRCTC Fashion. Anyway, instructor, I need to get the Twitter handle. Anyway, recommended I don't want to say the name because they're not paying us to market, right? So I don't want to anyway. I don't want anyone to think out there that I'm getting paid for this. I'm not. Well, I mean, I'm getting paid to work for GIC. You know what I'm saying? I'm not getting paid to talk about coffee. But anyway, this cold brew kit that I'm going to order. So it's working out. We're helping you guys. I'm getting coffee suggestions. Okay. Anyway.
And I will explain the flannel since I've explained that on the other two. Today's flannel is very special. It was for my sister's bachelorette party. And those of you that are watching, you can see, but it is branded Gryffindor. Even though these aren't the Gryffindor colors, it's like the plaid, but it is a specific Hogwarts theme. And then on my back, I don't know if you can see that, Brian.
Yeah.
It has my house on the back. So had to point that out. Now that we've talked about all of our fun things, want to give you guys a heads up. This episode may be a little bit longer because we are creating these episodes in real time to get the things that you guys are talking about, what you need. And I will say, even though we are only half of the digital learning team, Martine and Angie are really integral in us knowing how to answer these questions and working together. We are really excited for us to join them, or to join us, for them to join us for the next episode.
It's been a long
year, meaning from Tuesday to Wednesday.
A long life. Okay.
Well, we're gonna dive.
We're gonna be on the next episode, though, right?
Yes.
Okay.
We're forcing them to now that it's out there in our podcast.
It's on the internet. Must be true.
Must be true if it's on the internet. So our first thing we're going to dive into today, because we promised it in our last, maybe even our last 2 episodes, we talked about this, definitely episode 2. We talked about wanting to dive into Seesaw and Canvas. So we are going to start with that on our first tip, but then the rest of the tips that we covered today would really apply to whatever grade level you're teaching or whatever course you have, but they're also good practice for our littles. So if you're just getting into our podcast, if you're watching on YouTube specifically, we have chapter links. So if you're wanting to skip the Seesaw section, you are welcome to skip this and use those chapter links. So we're going to go ahead and start by talking about the links that we use for our littles to access Seesaw. We have a lot of primary teachers, so our pre-K through 2, who are using Seesaw and Canvas together. Okay, they're accessing Seesaw through Canvas. Since Seesaw is not a direct integration, meaning like they're kind of friends and they play well together, but they're not best friends. Like we used to say that all the time talking about Google and Microsoft. It is also true for Seesaw and Canvas, right? There's a little bit of a workaround that you have to do to make sure that integration, quote unquote, works. You're going to include these links somewhere in Canvas. So we've been seeing those learning menus. Guys, they look beautiful, the learning menus that you are designing. If the links are used in your learning menu, great. If these are things that you want to use by using the redirect tool, awesome. But either way, you're going to want to look at using 2 important links. And there's 2 separate links because, just like we talked about last episode, we're differentiating not just on skill level with our students now, we also have to take into mind our devices. Like what devices are the students using to access, right? Like how are they accessing Seesaw and Canvas? So you'll see Brian pulled up our Twitter. And this is not just a plug for you to be looking at our digital GISC Twitter, which you should.
It kind of is.
It kind of is. But there's a graphic that we just tweeted out recently about Canvas and Seesaw. And the reason I'm showing you this graphic is because the links that you will include they're different. So if your students are accessing Seesaw and Canvas using a Chromebook, for instance, or a laptop, and they're using the browser, the Chrome browser to access, the link that you would use wherever you're going to embed this is that app.seesaw.me #/login. And how I got that, honestly, I just went to Seesaw, the Seesaw login page, copied the URL, and that's the one that I'm using. The
Hey,
mobile,
Chelsey, can I just shout out that I just love that the hashtag, like there's some people listening that would call it like the pound sign. You know what I mean?
I called it the hashtag.
No, I love it. It is now the hashtag because like kids are like, what's the pound sign? Like, I have no idea.
Or I normally, honestly, if I was talking, I would call it the number sign.
Oh,
I probably wouldn't have even said pound sign. And I think I defaulted to hashtag because we're looking at Twitter. And I think I even did the hashtag motion when I did that.
Yeah.
That was just like it just happens. The mobile app link, if you're looking at the graphic we're talking about, and we will link to this in our show notes again, it has class_app_redirect as part of that URL. And what that will do is if you're on a mobile device, let's say your phone or an iPad, it keeps open the Canvas app and pops out the Seesaw app as well. So that is our first tip on how to embed Seesaw into your Canvas courses.
That's great. And like you guys would just take that link and put it in your learning menu that you're posting to Canvas, wherever you're going to post those links. And then that way the parents and students can get to those Seesaw activities a little easier. Okay.
Exactly.
So we're ready for tip number 2, Chelsey. And my tip
are we ready, Brian, for tip number 2?
Yes, I think we are. It's gonna happen. You can't stop what's coming. All right. Nope. So No Country for Old Men reference there.
I didn't catch that, but I need to go rewatch that movie. So that was a good reference.
I'm just glad you've watched it. You're quite a bit younger than me, so it's entirely possible that you're like, what is that movie? Okay. So let's talk about simplifying the course navigation. So everyone's been getting into Canvas, and when you're in your course, think about, again, this is thinking about our students. I think this tip could help pre-K to 12th grade. Okay. There's some things you can do to simplify what the kids see. So I'm going to share my screen again. So if you're listening to this, you're obviously not going to see what I'm presenting, but when you're in Canvas, and here's our course. Remember, if you've been with us since episode 1, you'll know that we started a sandbox course to practice. So here we are in our sandbox course. So when I click on settings, I can click on navigation, which is a tab right here. Okay. So it tells you real clearly here, drag and drop items to reorder them in the course navigation. So if you want your modules to appear under the home, you can drag modules up, right? Or if you wanted to leave your announcements there, you can reorder them. But here's the cool thing. Guys, our kids don't really need to see analytics. It's going to throw them off. So I'm just going to drag it down here and they're not going to see it anymore. Office 365, I don't really want them to see grade sync. I'm even going to take off Studio. Studio is coming, okay? Well, it's already here. We're going to have training on that, right? But right now it might confuse them. So look how I just simplified that for the students. So when they log in on the left side, they're only going to see home, announcements, modules, grades, Google Drive, and Seesaw. And if your kids aren't even using Seesaw, take it away, right? And it's just gone, okay, for them. So that's my tip. It's all about kind of making Canvas look a little bit less intimidating, a little more friendly for students. So that's my tip. Oh, of course, then you're going to want to click save to change up your settings. Now,
do you want to go to home and see the student view just so we can see what that looks like?
Yes.
That's beautiful.
Yep. So look how much simpler that is, right? There's no assignments. I know you're wondering, where's assignments? But there's no assignments. But if there were assignments, you could leave assignments here too. So much simpler and easy to navigate there.
And even though they're hidden in the navigation, you can still link to them. So,
Yeah.
we were earlier talking about that learning menu, hide it in the navigation, but then you can link to it from whatever you have embedded there. Speaking of linking to assignments and such, that beautifully transitions us, not planned, maybe, to tip number 3 and unpublishing modules.
So Chelsey, we're already getting off our we don't have a plan, but we kind of do. I realized I was supposed to do that, but I don't want to get us off if you want to do it. I'm all good.
Nah, I'm enjoying watching. I'm sitting here relaxing in my flannel, enjoying my water, watching you model it.
So the next unplanned off the cuff tip that I'm reading from my iPad here is unpublishing modules. So let me kind of show you what I mean. Again, if you're not watching this on YouTube, I'm going to describe it. So I'm in a course here and I have 3 modules, but you can imagine for a semester long or a year long class, you're going to have a lot of modules. Okay. And if you're the kind of teacher out there that a lot of us are, I liked to plan ahead and have a lot of different things already in Google Classroom or wherever I was using at the time. It can be a little bit overwhelming for students. So this is my tip. After you have published your course and it's live and you've planned out your course, you have week 1 module, week 2's there, week 3, and all the way down. Okay. You can come in here and let's say unpublish module 2 and unpublish module 3. So now when I switch back over to my student view, the modules are still there, but the students can only see the first module. So they don't have to worry about like what's coming down the pike and things like that. So that was my tip. So simplifying the navigation for the kids.
Yes. And that it also goes for, let's say, like, as you were discussing, Brian, you have a module for each week. If that's how you choose to organize it, you have week 1 learning at home, week 2 learning at home, or however you organize that, your online instruction modules.
Right.
You can always go and unpublish them after the students aren't using them anymore. And I love that because we used to get that question all the time about Google Classroom. Hey, how do I remove assignments we're not using anymore? I have so many topics. How do I get rid of those? If you unpublish that module, it doesn't delete their work. It just takes away the ability for them to navigate to it. So you could always publish and unpublish as you see fit. So maybe there's something that comes back in the second semester and you're trying to have students look back at what they did. You could publish that and have them access it. So again, just like we were talking about that course navigation in modules, if you had 14 modules that they can see, woof, that is a lot. So trying to keep that to 3 to 5 items, something that they can see and interact with without it being too much.
I agree. And I don't know if y'all saw that, but unpublishing, once the course is published, is literally as easy as clicking that green circle and it's just gone. I mean, it's just gone at that point. So if you make a mistake, you got to, oh man, that's not right. Just go unpublish it and they can't see it anymore. And then put it back.
Exactly.
So
super easy. Super easy, but powerful tip.
Yes.
Now we're on to tip number 4. Can't believe we've already made it 80% way through our podcast today.
I can't either. This is.
But we're going to talk about importing content from other courses, because if you started building early this summer, so if you were a teacher that was like, I'm getting in, I'm going to start building this now, or you followed our advice and you're working in a sandbox course so you can really play around with what your pages will look like, you can import content from other courses that you are a teacher into the course you'd like it to be in. So Brian right now is on our homepage in our sandbox course. He is going to import existing content. He's on the homepage. He's clicking on import existing content, and he's going to import from another course that we've also been playing around in. So he's going to select content type, and on the drop down, he's choosing copy from another course. Is that? Yeah, copy from a Canvas course.
Yeah, it says copy a Canvas course.
And once you click that, you can choose, do I want to copy the entire course? You can choose which course to import from, or you can select specific course material. So we're going to model specific course material because it's not more complicated, but it just takes you a little bit deeper. Once Brian chose the course and chose select specific material, it populated down to a section of this page and it says current jobs. Once he clicks on that current job, so in this case, we were importing from a Seesaw demo, he can then select which things specifically he would like to import into his course. So maybe this was something like you designed a really beautiful homepage on one course and you want to import it into here. You could import that laterally into another course. So if you're somebody who started building in one course and not in the Skyward Sinking course, you could pull from the course you were building in into your Skyward course. So right now, Brian's just
awesome, Chelsey. I've got to lift that up. That's a great point. Pulling from a course once the sync is all set. If you're like, well, dang it, now I want my grades to go. But I have this other course. Just import it into your Skyward course.
It's kind of similar to on Google Classroom when it was reusing a topic or reusing an assignment. It's similar to that. You're pulling it in. So then, Brian selected a couple of things that he wanted to pull in, and then we can see that material.
Yes. It came in here somewhere. So
it may still be processing too. That's it's underneath the jobs. So once it processes, then you'd be able to see it.
True. Oh, that's a great tip, Chelsey. That was awesome. Oh, and also I wanted to throw this out there too. I'm thinking that let's say you're co-teaching, right? Like with another teacher. And now you're actually listed as a co-teacher in their Canvas course. Maybe you're on the same team. Well, if they created like a page or a module that's really awesome and you're a teacher in that course, you can import that. And have so you can kind of share together that way. You can also use the Canvas Commons for that. But if you're at the same school, you're like right down the hall, you could just have them as a co-teacher and kind of share back and forth that way.
Exactly. And, on that too, when you're importing that content, if you're getting it from somebody else, you would just want to make sure that the things that you're importing, if you need to make your own copy of something, similar to like if you're making a copy of someone's Google form, you would make a copy so you could access your students' data. If you're using like a Pear Deck or something like that, you would go through all those actions as well. But you can, importing from another course just brings in that formatting already, all that kind of information.
It brings in the Canvas side of it.
Yes.
Yeah, like you're still gonna, if it includes a Google form, you have to make your own form. If it includes a Pear Deck, make your own Pear Deck. That's a great point. But you'll get the design of the Canvas course the same there. And
just like that, we are done with our Fast Five for the day, which we thought was going to be a lot longer. Our next episode, we're so glad you joined us this time. Our next episode, we want to hear from you. Again, we are really trying to give out tips that are helpful for you, for our teachers, for our educators, for our district right now. So if you have a question, which a lot of the tips we covered today came from questions we've been asked throughout this week. If you have a question today,
email inbox, straight from our DMs, straight from our personal text messages.
Our Google Voice, our office hours. Right. They're getting forwarded to us. However they're coming to us, we compiled our frequently asked questions. So if you are listening on Anchor, you can submit your question directly to Anchor. Okay, so you can put your question on Anchor. We will be able to start compiling some of those. If you are listening other places or watching on YouTube and you're a Garland ISU employee, you can email us. Okay, you can email our digital learning email and mention a question you have. Hey guys, could you address this on your next podcast? This would be really helpful.
And in the subject line, because a lot of emails come into that inbox, in the subject line, if you could say podcast question, then we'll be able to see that. Otherwise, if it says, hey, ignore it.
Or sometimes it puts the whole question in the subject line. Like we get the whole question in the subject line, and then the email signature.
The body of the email. Sorry. Okay.
Yes. I digress. We just appreciate you guys being with us and all the hard work that you are putting in to really make this year memorable and effective for our students and our families. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts, and know that we are here. We are walking with you. So follow us at Digital GISD. Check out our tips, whether you're on Twitter or on Instagram. Check out our website, and then reach out to us with any questions.
And if you're on YouTube, check the show notes. We're going to have links in there as well. So thanks a lot.
Thanks for joining.